Hi.
Namaste, Adya.
Thank you.
It's really nice to be here. And, excuse me, my heart is like pounding very fast.
Your heart is pounding? Well, good. If it stops, then we have to, we'll be a little more alarmed. But.
So my question was that... Sorry.
Yeah.
My question was that sometimes, in those, there are moments where you're like totally clear, and you can sense that things are emerging from that space.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes I get confused that how can I guarantee that it's not my mind that's...
How can you guarantee?
Yeah, that it's not my mind that's playing games and that I don't get addicted to it.
Oh, that's easy. Very easy. How can you know?
Yeah.
You can't. I told you it's easy. You can't.
So then how can I be sure that...
You can't.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go back and not explain it, but just slow it down. Because this is a phenomenon. It's very, very common where, you come to some deeper place of being inside, right? Some deeper place of being, some deep clarity, stillness, wonderful clarity, open-heartedness, right? And then the mind comes in and says, how do I know that this is true and real? And how do I know that the next thing I say? And you see, the mind is just coming in and it's very cunning, right? Anything to get you re-involved in its domain, right? As the best way to get you involved in the mind's domain is for the mind to ask questions that don't have any answers. I mean, you can think about a question that doesn't have an answer indefinitely, can't you? How do I know that I'm coming from a true place? You can't. So what happens when you realize you can never know on the mental level? You can't know it in your mind. Your mind cannot make the decision, and your mind is no place to be making decisions about what's ultimately true or real. And when you realize that, you stop looking for the answer in your mind, because you realize it can't be found there. And what happens, and that means, of course, right now, what happens now when you stop looking for the answer in your mind? Because it can't be found there.
I've tried doing that sometimes, and there's like, how you fill air into a balloon and it expands.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a great analogy, but the space just expands.
Mm-hmm.
And gives more stillness, and I won't say gives more stillness to my mind because
I understand.
That's not right. But you know what I'm saying.
It's a way of speaking. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is good, but oftentimes I'm not able to do that. I get caught.
Caught.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's another monster, obviously, of the ego that comes up saying that, I'm in this place, and I'm acknowledging that I feel that, which is not. I can't say it's not right. I mean,
I understand. You feel caught, right?
Yeah. I feel
confused, whatever.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, so I'm at this place now, and so like I've traveled this far, and I have so far to go, which I know is, I think it's all the mind that's playing that game, but I just don't know how. I mean, I know I have to get out of it.
Do you?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what you said yesterday about the retreat of retreating from the form towards the formless.
Yeah. But understand this, the formless is right in the form.
That's the problem.
I know. So here's a principle that may be of some use to you, okay? Here's a principle. And I didn't come up with it. The principle is this. You've heard it before. The truth shall set you free. Now, that's true on an absolute level, but what a lot of people don't know, it's true on a relative level. What I mean by that is, if you can stay right with your experience, right with it. So let's say you get confused and muddled in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And you stay right there with that experience. And you say, okay, I'm totally confused and totally muddled in my mind. Can I be confused and muddled without trying to not be confused and muddled? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you just be there without the struggle to be somewhere else? Why? Because if that's what's true at that moment, and the truth sets you free, then if you stay with what's true at that moment, something happens. So what happens when you're confused or caught in your mind and muddled, and you just stop with, I'm caught in my mind and I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how. Because that's, I think, what's underlying the question, right?
Yeah. Yes.
What do I do
Yes.
at these moments?
Yes.
And what I'm saying is, at those moments, the truth is you don't know what to do. Right? Otherwise, you wouldn't ask the question, what do I do? What happens if you stop right there? I don't know what to do. Without trying to know what to do. Without making the slightest struggle to try to know. What happens if you just stop with, I do not know what to do? What's that state like?
There's an impatient force within me because
What's that?
there's a force of impatience
Yes.
with my own self.
Yes.
Because, all these years we've been living where we know that if we are in a problem, we got to solve it.
I know.
And then if I'm not looking for a resolution, I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Well, that's what we're exploring. We're exploring what happens if I don't look for a resolution. That's the very thing that I'm exploring, that I'm suggesting you really look at. What happens if I don't look for a resolution to this problem? What happens if I just stop with the problem itself? I don't know what to do.
Okay.
You see, because what you're familiar with, which almost everybody's familiar with, is a moment where the mind gets confused, you get lost in identification, and then the mind starts thinking, okay, how do I get out of this? How do I get clarity again? What do I do? And that kind of thinking just makes you more muddled and more confused, right? And the mind gets more frantic. Okay, let me remember some spiritual teaching that somebody said that might help me get out of this. And it gets more muddled and more confused. And it just sort of this self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yes.
And so most people, when they've had the experience of I don't know what to do, what they start to do is immediately struggle. I don't know what to do, but I must know what to do. I have to know what to do. It's not okay not to know. You see? That's been
fed into us.
Fed into you, programmed like a program being inserted into a computer and downloaded. That's what's in your system, in your mind, in the way your body's, it's all sort of structured of, it's not okay not to know.
Yeah.
Right? That's been the programming. And we are directly challenging that programming. And the only way to challenge it is to just see what happens when you let yourself not know, but you're not struggling to know.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it's an inquiry, right? You feel it, you find out.
Yeah.
You'll find out something very unexpected. Very unexpected. Especially if you're kind of struggling and you're confused and And your mind says, what should I do? What should I do? And you say, I don't know. And you just stop with it. Instead of trying to know, you ask yourself, like, what's it like not to know right now?
Okay.
You know what it's like to try to know,
Yeah.
but you don't know what it's like to really not know without struggling. What's it like to not know without struggling? What's it feel like? I don't know. And you actually want to know what it feels like to not know what to do. What does it feel like to not know?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Remember St. John of the Cross's poem? In order to come to the knowledge you have not, you must go by a way in which you know not.
Yeah.
Spirituality is basically the way your mind has life hooked up. Spirituality, the truth, is 180 degrees the opposite. And because it's so unusual for people, it sounds crazy. I mean, what could sound more ludicrous than someone saying, in order to come to the knowledge you have not, you must go by a way in which you know not. I mean, if most people said that to you, if they didn't have saint in front of their name, you'd just go, what an idiot. That's the ramblings of a moron.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, Adya.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. In Zen, we call this taking the backward step. Basically, all of spirituality is about taking the backward step. The forward step is, my mind is muddled, my mind is confused, what do I do? That's the forward step. That's the way of thinking that we are conditioned. That's the programming that's been downloaded into your system. The programming says, it is not okay not to know, you must know. Reality goes just the opposite. Reality says, reality rules. You come to the greatest knowledge through reality. What's the reality of a given moment? If you don't know at that moment, that's what's real for you. That's your reality at that moment. And so you stick with the reality of that moment. And when you stay with the reality of that moment, even if it's something so unacceptable as I don't know, if you stay with it, what's it like not to know? See, your confusion immediately disappears. It's only there because you're trying not to be confused. As soon as there's, I don't know, all of a sudden, there's clarity. It's confusing because your mind says, what did I do? Nothing. That's why it's called the backward step. Just almost the opposite way that our conditioned mind would expect to go.